Hello everyone. Do you want to play a game? So hello everyone, welcome back to Through the Pages with Dee. So I've read another book, and the book is called The Game, hence the intro. I was trying to be very sour there, probably didn't pull it off too well, but hey, there you go. So yes, I've read this book called The Game by Scott Kershaw. It's actually very, very good. It's kind of a psychological thriller mystery. So I've gone back to my original genre that I used to read quite a lot of. And what I've liked about this is it's reminded me a lot of a Michael Douglas film that was called The Game, I think. It's got elements of that to it, and also elements of Taken, Liam Neeson. So it's actually been quite an interesting book. I've really, really enjoyed it. So let me kind of explain the book to you. So we have 5 players. There's actually 6, but majoritively the whole book consists of 5. The 5 are Maggie, Brett, Sarah, Noah and Linda. Those are our main 5. The 6th player, who comes along towards the end of the book, is called Paul. So each contestant who's playing this game is lured into the game by the loss of a loved one. And that's how they're pulled in, is they are threatened by the fact that we have taken your loved one. If you want to see them again kind of script, then you need to play the game and follow the rules and tell no one. So that's the basis and the principle of the beginning of the game. They all get a message on their phones with a picture as evidence to say, go and get a burner phone, destroy your old phone, just stick with the burner and we'll give you instructions on the burner type thing. The interesting thing is each individual's own story. So I don't really want to tell you who people have taken from them, because I think that maybe will pertain to spoiling the story. What I will say is that there are some lovely twists, and you are kind of led up a path to believe that this could be something that it's not. I found the writing style very interesting. It's very sort of like most mysteries that I've read, most psychological thriller mysteries. It's very similar to the general mysteries. But what I enjoyed about this one was there was some elements of humour in it. There was some sarcasm, there was some quite funny points. There was also some little bits of bonding going on between contestants. There was also some swearing. The part I enjoyed the most was the harshness of what's actually going on. So each individual, and there's also a mistake made within the setup of the game. A mistake gets made. Again, I can't go into it because it gives too much away, but a mistake gets made and it doesn't necessarily ruin the game, but it brings a different light into the game. And the game is just this pure principle of you have to follow the rules. So this group of people have to try. So there's 2 people from England, there are 2 players from America, and there's 1 player from France. None of them know each other, and they end up kind of where they all have to meet, which is sort of in Yorkshire, which is just literally, I don't even know the miles away from me, but it's not that far. So the guys have to come from America, the guy has to come from France, and the 2 ladies who are already in England just basically travel the distance to get to the destination. Once they get there, that's when they all meet. And obviously there's suspicions of each other and, well, where are you from, and who's been taken, that's yours, and, well, how do we know we can trust you? There's all that going on. Slight sort of alliances are made, but not properly, because ultimately the presenters of the game keep saying there can be only one winner. So ultimately, everybody wants to be the winner. And that is then portrayed in betrayal in certain circumstances, or just kind of cold-heartedness towards another player. How, let's say, for instance, they may need your help in a situation to do with the game, and you're not prepared to give it because you want to win and you want to save your loved one. So there's a lot of that going on. But there's a lot of twists and turns, which I really enjoy. I do love a good twist and turn story where there's things that I don't see coming. Sometimes I saw the things coming in this story, I must admit, and then the finale of it, I kind of didn't. I didn't have a clue as to that was going to be the culprit. Kind of had an idea that that might be the reason, but didn't have an idea as to that would be the culprit. So there isn't a great deal of, let's say, surroundings that are being built. You do get descriptions of where they are. You do get a description of the place that they go to in the moors. So you get descriptions like that. You get descriptions of, say, let's say, for instance, the guy who travels from France. He has a particular background, Noah. He's from France, and he has this particular background, and he doesn't have a passport enabling him to get to England. So he has to find alternative transportation, which he does, which is kind of in a migrant way, which is getting into a HGV and being smuggled across the border to get into England. So it describes to you what that feels like, you know, the confined space that they're in, how it's affecting his mental health, how he's thinking of his loved one whilst he's confined in this space, how it must be for the other people in this confined space. So it does give you that. It gives you like the idea of the smell of the exhaust fumes, the fact that the people within this contained space are obviously having to go potty whilst they're there because they can't stop. So they're having to urinate and defecate within this enclosed space. So it's giving you examples of that. Then you've got Brett, who's from America, and Maggie, who is from America as well, and they both choose to opt for the plane option to fly to England. Brett's is fairly straightforward. He has to explain to somebody that he has to leave. He basically says that it's a work thing because you're not, point blank, not allowed to tell anyone. If you do, then you are basically putting your loved one at risk. So he gets to England. He basically tells someone that it's to do with work. Then Maggie has to go down the realms of, she doesn't have a passport also, but she does have a sister who she looks very much like. So she takes her sister's passport and she gets through to England via that route. But those two actually meet up on the plane. Now, they don't meet as in have a conversation, but they are on the same plane. When they get off the plane, Brett is looking for a way to get to where he needs to get to. So he goes to obviously the information desk. I'm saying obviously, I've never really been in an airport, but he goes to the information desk asking how can he get from here to his destination. And the lady says, oh, that must be a very popular spot at the moment because that lady who's just left is going to that same place. So he chases after Maggie. And that's how Brett and Maggie sort of pair up, if you like. Then you have Sarah and Linda, who are both from Britain. They're both from England. So they are both travelling by car to get to where they need to get to. Linda being an ex-policewoman, but she's now airport security. And Sarah is just a housewife, a mum. She doesn't actually work. She looks after the children and looks after the house. And these two eventually meet up, but they meet up under the circumstances of getting to the same place at the same time. Sarah, however, watches Linda approach, waits, goes into the building after her, goes up the stairs and hides, waits for Linda to have her conversation with the lady who owns this place, and then as she turns to leave, Sarah kind of attacks her in a way, thinking that she's got something to do with it. She's not necessarily a player. She's part of the reason why she's there, and she wants to know where her loved one is, and she gets quite animated. So there's lots of that going on, and obviously Noah turns up last because but they're all on a timer. Everybody's on a timer to get to the destination, and most things that they do, which I'm not going to go into, are timed, which some can manage and some can't because of health reasons or one thing and another. So each individual person is challenged in different ways to be able to get to. Now, what it is the very end task is to find player 6. So eventually, through contacts that Linda has, because she's ex-police force, they manage to track down where they think player 6 may be, find player 6, and then go into player 6's home, which is kind of on this little sort of beachy type area down a cliff. It's like a little hunting shack, if you like, or fishing shack. Not really a shack though, it's made out of stone and brick, and he's been living there. And that's when everything starts to come open up, and the reason to get to player 6 was to find out what the game's about. Why has this game happened? Who's brought about this game, and what is the reasoning for it? That's obviously when it was my favourite part of the book, because a hell of a lot's revealed at that point. Connections are made, things are sussed out, the mysteries along the way are revealed to you, and that's the kind of thing that I really enjoy. And also at the end we also get an update as to how the players have got on after the game. How has the game affected their lives, or have they just carried on? Or has there been repercussions, and has it changed them and made them different people? So if I was to rate this book, I would probably rate it, say, a 3.5 hats, because it is kind of like a lot of other psychological thriller mysteries that I have read. It isn't that different. However, because of the twists and turns in it, I did enjoy it just that bit more. I haven't potentially seen those kinds of twists and turns before this one. So in that aspect, and the game of it all, and how it was all planned out and everything, and obviously the work that's gone into this to achieve this game, I found that very interesting. And there's thing that not only do we talk about the present time, we also go back in time to make sense and to make connections. And I enjoyed that dynamic as well, of what we're doing in the present and how the past potentially can reflect on the present and make maybe connections for yourself, or make influence to you to think, oh, okay, that makes sense, or oh, okay, I can see how that potentially might play out. Now that we know that, this might happen. So there are little snippets and droplets, like a good mystery, how they give you little droplets. Some authors pull it off, some authors don't. I have to say, Scott Kershaw has absolutely pulled it off in this book. So maybe a 3.5 is a bit mean, but I have read other thriller, murder, mystery, that kind of genre. I have read other books where I've been slightly more wowed, but I definitely would say I enjoyed this. I thought it was very, very good. And it was nice to take a break away from fantasy for a moment and go back to what I was reading last year when I got back into my reading binge. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought I'd share this with you guys. It's not a genre that I often talk about, so I am going to start introducing it again into my reading life, because I feel like I've left it to one side for a bit too long, and I can do more than one genre. I don't just have to be fantasy. I can talk about the crime and even non-fiction and horror. I can talk about all the genres, really. Everything that I read, I can talk to you guys about it and give you ideas as to maybe genres or books or authors you haven't heard of. So I would say The Game by Scott Kershaw. It's a 3.5, but it's a good, solid 3.5. Definitely give it a try if you like that kind of twisty, turny. Also, who's what's going on here then? Where it does actually keep you guessing, like, oh, what's going to happen next? Then I would definitely say this one's for you if you like that kind of. Say if you are a Taken fan, if you like Liam Neeson's films, or you like that kind of vibe going on in a book. Yeah, I'd say give this a go, because it's very much like that and I enjoyed it. Also, I do have to apologise in this video. It's kind of it's not a serious thing, so let's not all get worried. I have to apologise because I did a viewer's choice vote, and it was between Shogun, Dune, Gormenghast and The Three Body Problem. And after all the votes were brought in, it was Dune that won the votes. So I mean, I'm a little bit ahead of my videos in my reading. So I've gone to Dune because it was the viewer's choice. And I've got about 20-30 pages in. And I have to apologise because I don't know if it's the headspace that I'm in at the moment, or if I'm just not that kind of person who reads that stuff. I don't really read much sci-fi. It's not necessarily a genre I'm instantly drawn to. But I do want to try it. I do want to sort of go into the sci-fi realms. But what I've found is I couldn't get my head around it. It felt like it was work to read. And I have to say that any time a book feels like I'm working to read it, I don't enjoy it. So I'm apologising because I may not have the time to get back to it in April or May, because we know what's happening in May. And if you don't, you will find out at the end of this month, beginning of May. It's a big thing for me. I hope you'll all support me with it, what's going on in May. There will be potentially a bit more of me on screen, so I hope that doesn't bother you too much. But anyway, we'll get to that when we get to it. But as far as Dune goes, I'm going to leave it for now, because I know it's a good book. I trust the opinions of people that have read it and rave about it. So I do know it must be a good book. But if my head's not in it, and that's affecting how that book is coming to me and how I'm reading it, then I'm going to leave it. So I'm going to leave Dune until maybe June, July, and see how maybe I get on with it then. Maybe it's just a now thing, and because like I say, I'm very much a mood reader. And if I'm not in that place, I just can't take it in. It just won't work for me. It just won't go in. So I don't want to spoil Dune by doing that and forcing myself to read it, because then I'm just going to end up giving it a bad review. And that probably won't even be the case. It'll be where my headspace is at. So I'm going to leave Dune for now, and go back to it at some point. Like I say, it will be within this year, and then we'll try again. And if it's just simply a fact of me and Dune don't meld, then that's just going to have to be how I accept it, is that it's just not a book for me. But this is the first time trying. We'll find out. We'll give it another go and we'll find out. So I've actually jumped to what have I jumped to? Gog Magog. The name went out of my head and I was thinking Gormenghast. Gog Magog. I've gone to Gog Magog. I'm nearly finished. I've actually only started it this morning and I've nearly finished it. I've had quite an empty schedule, so because it was meant to be for Dune, and I'm quite ahead with some of my videos, and I did want to see how many extra books I could fit in for April, because I know that in May, because I'm dedicating it to one series to see how much of May I can get, how much of this series I can fit into May. I'm just dedicating May to Malazan. So now you know, to Malazan. If you haven't already heard, I'm dedicating May to Malazan. So because I'm not going to be reading anything else in May, I may have to throw in a palette cleanser here and there, just like a little novella somewhere, just to clear my head maybe. But that's not the plan. The plan is for me to consistently throughout May just read Malazan and see how far I get. So I won't be able to read anything else. So I know that I'm going to be pining for the fact that I've got all these other books and I'm just committing myself to Malazan. So I'm trying to see how many I can get in before April's over. So yes, I've gone for Gog Magog. I'm almost finished with that. But I haven't quite decided what I'll move on to after that. I'm looking at TJ Killen, who did the House of the Cerulean Sea. Is that how it's yeah, I think that's this House on the Cerulean. I think that's what it's called. He's done it. I think it's in the Lives of Puppets, and that's maybe where I'll move on to. Or I have other options. I don't know as yet, but yeah, I just wanted to apologise and say I don't want to you all thinking I wasted your time with that vote. I did try doing, like I say, 20-30 pages in, and it just wasn't sitting. I just couldn't. So I'm not going to ruin the story that I know is quite popular if it's just not sitting right with me. I'd rather go back to it. So I hope you don't mind. I will go back to it, so I hope you don't mind too much. If you've watched my videos and you haven't already, please subscribe. It means everything to me. It doesn't mean that you have to constantly watch my content, but it does mean that you'll be notified when I make content. So you can pick and choose as to what you want to watch, what suits you. But it just makes all the difference to me, because then YouTube knows that I'm doing well, that my videos are getting watched. It does something for the algorithm, and it spreads me out there further, and more people get to see. And also, if you have the time, if you could like the video as well, that makes a difference. And I appreciate for every single one of you that does that clicks on things. It means everything to me and my daughter. We love that. So thank you so much for doing that. And that's it for today. That's Monday. It's the start of a new week. I hope you guys have a fantastic week. I'll be back on Wednesday, hopefully with another book review. Until then, every single one of you guys, take it easy. Be kind to each other. Reach out to friends. Don't forget to get in touch with people who you haven't spoken to in a while. Just reach out, see how people are, and help somebody every now and again. It makes the world a better place. Okay, so off the back of that, I've been Dee, and I will see you guys next time through the pages. Take care. Bye bye.